Well, I was in the Phoenix program. Okay, I was a counterintelligence. I was a military intelligence officer, and my job was to advise Vietnamese counterparts. Okay, I had a captain and a lieutenant that I was directly responsible for advising on counterinsurgency techniques. Okay. I was 24, 25 years old. I was a young boy then. I'm 70 now. There were some really enjoyable times, and there were some times that were kind of crazy. One of the things that happened to me, which is kind of silly, we go on different kinds of patrols, and this particular day we were in helicopters, okay, and these young helicopter pilots in Vietnam, you know, they thought they could do anything, and we were flying nap of the earth, okay. Now, if you're up too high, you're a target and easy to shoot at, you know, so they'd go right down as low as they could, and you're going 100 miles an hour, you know, and you're going this way and up and down and around. You're following the nap of the earth, and you're going in between trees. And this pilot chose to go through two trees that were too close together, and the props hit the trees, and he dented his props, and then the helicopter started shaking away, you know. We landed, we didn't know where the heck we were, you know, and it's obviously BC territory. And so he looked at it, and maybe we can get by. And so we tried, and we, you know, he got it back into the air, and we limped over to the nearest base, and everything worked out. That was kind of a funny incident, but it wasn't very funny when it happened. Funny incident, we were on gunboat patrol, so we were looking at fishermen, checking out their papers, seeing if there's any contraband in their fishing boats, because we had heard that a lot of weapons and supplies were being brought down from North Vietnam on the fishing boats. And the day went pretty nice. I mean, we weren't finding anything. There was this one fisherman that had caught a hammerhead shark, but he had a hammerhead shark, and I had an NCO that was my counterpart, Sergeant, well, I won't give the name, but he was a roly-poly guy, a little bit heavy-set, Hispanic. And so we were in our patrol boat heading back to base, about a mile offshore, and the engine conked out. So we dropped anchor. We didn't know, again, you know, we didn't know where we were as far as BC was concerned. And while they were trying to repair the engine, we decided to go swimming. And so there were about 15, 20 Vietnamese soldiers and me and the sergeant. And so we went in, had a good old time swimming. They got the motor fixed, and it's time to get back on board. Well, I was a stud back then, not like now. I had no problem. You're about this high, well, that high out of the water. And so you got to reach up and pull your body up and get onto that boat. Now, all the Vietnamese had no problem doing it. I had no problem doing it. Sergeant couldn't do it. He could not get on that boat. And we had barnacles on it, and he was, you know, trying to get up and getting himself all scratched up. And, Vietnamese jumped back into the water and tried to push him up. I took a rope and tried to pull him up. Now, we weren't getting that guy in a boat, period. And finally, I just told him, I says, doggone it, Sergeant, if you don't get in this boat, those sharks out there are going to eat you alive. And whew, he got right into that boat. There were some major problems in Vietnam. You had several different kinds of forces there. You have the popular force, which was people that recruited in the area that we happened to be in. Regional forces, they would be pulled out if they were in the district below us. They'd be regional forces, and they'd bring them into our district so that they didn't have any family, any friends, any relatives or anything. where they were working. And it made things very difficult because the popular forces were the ones that knew what was going on, right? They were the ones that lived there. But they were also the ones that we couldn't trust. And so that made it very difficult. Made it very difficult to do our job. I went over there in December, and I came home in December. I don't remember the exact day, but you know that when you first go over, you're a newbie, right? You don't know anything, and you're scared of everything. Then you figure things out, and for about 6 months, you're very useful. And in the last 3 months, you're short. Yeah? And when you're short, you don't want to get killed your last 3 months in the country, so you are a little scared again. So that's typical of the way it is. I had, well, they call them Chu Hois. They were North Vietnamese soldiers that had come over to our side. I had a Chu Hoi advisor, and I had a Vietnamese interpreter. And so whenever we did anything, it was always the sergeant, myself, and these two guys, and then whoever I was advising. And we opened up one of these schools, and there was a graduation at the school. And I had to go, that day I had something I had to do at Pleiku, so I couldn't go to the graduation. I was invited. So I sent my Chu Hoi guy and my interpreter. And Viet Cong had wired a 6 or 7-year-old kid up with an explosive. Blew up the mayor of that little town, my Chu Hoi guy, and the principal of that little school. That was a bad day.